Swat, and good evening and welcome to our regular council meeting of June the 3rd. And as it's our first meeting of the month and tradition says, I send it over to the deputy mayor to chair tonight.
Thank you, Mayor Pajot. I would first like to start with the Indigenous land acknowledgement. I'd like to begin the meeting by acknowledging that we are in the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe peoples in the Robinson-Huron Treaty area and wish to recognize our neighboring community of Doki's First Nation. While we meet today, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and to improving our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures. From coast to coast, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of all the Inuit, Métis, and First Nation people that call this land home. And with that, I need a mover and a seconder for the adoption of the agenda. Roger and Dave. Okay, are there any additions to the agenda? Seeing none. Any disclosures of pecuniary interests? None. And we have no delegations tonight, so we'll continue on to reports and items for consideration. 6.1 general government is nil. 6.2 finances is nil. 6.3 public works and environmental services. 6.3.1 we have a resolution to award the contract for dual surface treatment, and I believe Kevin will speak to this.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. Through this report, staff are recommending that council award the contract for the double surface treatment work. This project includes Delamere Road, Jean Street, Woodville Crescent, Green Bay Road, and Plouffe Road. These roads were included as part of the municipality's capital road improvement plan. The initial road preparation and aggregate work was completed previously. The tender was posted on May 7th and closed May 28th. 2 submissions were received. Duncor Enterprises submitted the lowest bid at $572,825, and Miller Paving submitted a bid of $690,250. The approved 2026 capital budget for this work is $575,000. So the recommended award is within the approved budget. The recommendation before council is to award the contract to Duncor Enterprises in the amount of $572,825.
Okay, I need a mover and a seconder for the resolution. Willie and Bob. Does anybody have any questions, or can I just ask Kevin? Delamere Road, is it just like a portion of Delamere Road that's gonna be done? Because we've had a lot of,
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. So it's the first 2.5 kilometers roughly. It's there's a patch of double surface already there. Anyway, the first bit was removed, the first 2.5 kilometers. So it's just going to catch back up to that portion that's done.
okay, thank you. I believe Mel,
Yeah,
the
we have
resolution.
It is moved and seconded, but resolved that council awards the contract for the dual surface treatment to Duncor Enterprises, Inc. for the total amount of $572,825 plus applicable taxes.
All those in favor? Okay, we'll continue on to 6.4. We have recreation and community services. 6.4.1 resolution to award the purchase of the zero turn mower. Jason, are you going to speak to this?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. The request for quotation 2026-05, the supply and delivery of Hustle zero turn 60-inch rear discharge lawnmower was posted on Friday, May 1st, 2026 and closed Friday, May 15th, 2026 with 1 quotation received from Outdoor Plus Limited for $23,500. The financials of the 2026 capital budget for the purchase of the new zero turn mower was approved in the amount of $20,000. As this quote exceeds the capital budget, we are asking council's approval to proceed with the purchase. Recommendations that council awards and approves the purchase of the zero turn mower from Outdoor Plus Limited for the amount of $23,500 plus applicable taxes. Any questions?
Willie?
I submitted my question. I was very happy with my reply. Thank you, Kevin. I just want to maybe bring it to light, air it out. My concern was the additional cost for the zero-turn mower. I wasn't aware of the special specifications that were required for the zero-turn mower, and some of the I guess answers that came back explaining the criteria, like we already have a mower that's very similar. So the parts, the wear factor, and the operation is going to be very similar. So that in itself will save money. And maybe can justify the extra money costs for the mower itself. So I was very happy with that reply. Thank you.
Okay, Bob?
Just one quick question, information for myself. Outdoor Plus Limited, they are situated.
New Liskard.
Thank you.
Okay, I am mover and a seconder, Counselor Dave and Counselor Roger.
It is moved and seconded. Be resolved that council awards the purchase of the zero-turn mower from Outdoor Plus Limited for the amount of $23,500 plus applicable taxes.
All those in favor? Okay, 6.4.2, we have a resolution to approve the removal of the outdoor rink board in Albin. So I need a mover and a seconder, or Dave and Dean. Do you guys have any questions for Jason? Did you want to speak to it, or?
I can a little bit.
Yep.
Yep. I mean, I'm not gonna read everything that's there, but basically the deterioration of the rink boards that were put up about 10 years ago haven't been used for the last couple of years. For the liability and the safety factors, like to remove that and then install a basketball net for better use of that pad, as well as maybe in the future putting a pickleball net there as well, because the pickle group already has lines that they put there and they just move the net back and forth from the outside to the inside to outside. So any other questions?
No. Okay, we have the resolution.
Did you get a mover and seconder?
I did.
Do you
It
remember?
was Roger and Dean, I believe, on this one.
Thank you. It is moved and seconded. Be it resolved that council approves the removal of the outdoor ice rink boards at the Albin Community Center and the installation of a basketball net as an alternative recreational amenity for community use at an estimated cost of $3,500.
All those in favor? We're good. 6.4.3, we have a resolution to adopt a bylaw to renew a land lease agreement with Rainbow Camp for North Channel Wharf. And I believe Mel is going to speak to this.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The North Channel Wharf is a small craft harbor. It was divested to the municipality in 1999 from the Fisheries and Oceans Canada. It is a water lot in the township of Scollard that has provided public access to properties on 8 Mile Island and access to the French River for recreational boating and fishing. The leased area contains a loading dock. A Rainbow Camp owns the lands that contain the launching ramp and the parking area. And they also have additional docks for docking for their clients. In 2004, 2005, council was provided with options for the future of the site as it required major repairs and it posed significant liability risks. Following public meetings, public input, further considerations, and an offer from the adjacent lodge owner, Rainbow Camp, they had offered to lease the property and maintain it. So the lease has no monetary value. It ensures public access and gives them the responsibility for the upkeep of the docks. The original lease agreement started in 2005 with 1 5-year term option to renew. And in 2015, we entered into a new agreement with 2 renewable terms. So we expired the first renewable term, and now we are recommending at council to enter into the second renewable term. And this would be the final one to be reconsidered in 5 years.
Anybody have any questions? So the lodge sold last year, right? It's new owners there and they are good with this?
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. The new owner has contacted the municipality following their purchase. When they purchased, they had 1 year left in the term, so we just allowed the agreement to follow through. And I have met with the new owner a few weeks ago to discuss the lease and to go through some additional information, and they are willing to renew for another 5 years.
Okay, good, thank you. We need a mover and a seconder. So Counselor Roger and Counselor Bob.
It is moved and seconded. Be it resolved that bylaw 2026-31, being a bylaw to authorize a land lease renewal agreement with Rainbow Camp, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
All those in favor? Okay, 6.4.4, resolution to award the purchase of a work truck for Parks and Rec Department. Jason gonna speak, Kevin's gonna speak to this one.
Thank you.
Go
Through
ahead.
you, Madam Chair. Through this report, staff are recommending the purchase of one new 2026 Ford F-350 work truck for the Parks and Rec Department. A public tender was issued May 7th and closed on May 21st, but no bids were received. Because there were no submissions, staff proceeded through the Supply Ontario Vendor of Record program. Two options were reviewed, sorry. A 2027 F-250 available near the end of September and a 2026 F-350 available within approximately 2 weeks. Staff are recommending the F-350 because there's an immediate operational need for the vehicle. The 1-ton truck is also a better fit for parks and recreational operations due to its increased towing and payload capacity. The approved capital budget was $75,000. The recommended purchase price is $80,420, which is $5,420 over budget. Staff are confident this overage can be accommodated through savings and other approved capital projects. The recommendation before council is to award the purchase of the 2026 Ford F-350 to Belanger Ford Lincoln Center in the amount of $80,420 plus applicable taxes and licensing.
Any questions? Seeing none, I need a mover and a seconder. Bob and Willie this time. I got the names right. Because a while ago, Willie, you had your hand up a few times. Not this time, but you're doing it.
It is,
If that's okay with you. Okay. Do you need to read the
Yes.
resolution?
yes. It is moved and seconded. Be resolved that council awards the purchase of the Ford F-350 truck for the Parks and Recreation Department for the amount of $80,420 plus applicable taxes and licensing to Belanger Ford Lincoln Center to ensure operational requirements are met without delay.
All those in favor? Okay. Okay, 6.4.5, we have a resolution to award the contract of the Wally Lamondin Beach Pavilion upgrades, and I believe Jason will speak to this one.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. The Candora Foundation continues to generally provide donations, funding intended for the beach property. The capital's upgrades located in Alban. In consideration with the family, staff elected to proceed with the cosmetic enhancements of the existing pavilion structure. Enhancements include a 24 by 44 concrete pad, soffit and fascia, pine interior ceiling finishing, siding on the gable end walls. The request for tender for the 2026-09 was posted May 14th, and the deadline was May 28th. We had one bid was received from Voltavan Contracting for a total of $21,100. The 2026 capital budget for the beach property project was approved by council for the total of $97,290, and the amount that includes unspent donations received from the Candor Foundation and have been deferred plus the 2026 donation of $24,000. Donation was matched by the municipality with the parkland reserves to be used specifically for improving local parks as per section 42 of the Planning Act. In conclusion, it is recommended that council awards the contract to both event contracting in the total amount of 21,100 plus applicable taxes. Any questions?
Any questions? I just have a question and more for Julie. How much money do we have left in the park funds? Do we know? No, but do you? Okay, I knew there was a little bit left. I don't know. There's lots still? Okay, good. A mover and a seconder? Counselor Dave and Counselor Willie.
It is moved and seconded, but resolved that council award the contract for the upgrades to the Wally Lamondin Beach Pavilion to Vogue Contracted for the total amount of $21,100 plus applicable taxes.
All those in favor? Good. 6.5, Emergency and Protection Services. 6.5.1, a resolution to adopt a bylaw to amend the Administrative Monetary Penalty System, AMPS bylaw, to add penalties to the Public Spaces bylaw. So I believe Andrea or Kevin, no? No, it's just a mover and a seconder. Willie and Roger.
Through you, Madam Chair, I can add a little more context. So council adopted the public space bylaw at the last meeting with set fines. So we have been adding penalties to our administrative monitoring penalty system to be able to enforce through the AMPS system. So this is just adding that to our overall AMPS bylaw. So
Thank you.
it's moved and seconded. The resolved that bylaw 2026-32 being a bylaw to amend the administrative monetary penalty system bylaw 2022-32 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
All those in favor? Okay, good. 6.6, Building, Planning and Development. 6.6.1, we have a resolution resulting from the transfer of septic authority to the SEBS municipalities. So I believe Andrea will speak to this one, and there's 3 resolutions in this one. So you can let us know when you're ready.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. So this is a fairly multi-dimensional report. So it's difficult for me to just pick out bits and pieces. So I will go through the report in a bit of detail. And then I'll ask for questions at the end because I really think the report as a whole answers a lot of any questions that may come up. So there are some changes coming to the SEBS department. Council had passed a resolution in 2024 requesting that the province grant municipal authority to issue permits for septic systems. And earlier this year, we were informed that we've been granted that authority starting November 1st, 2026. This means that each of the member municipalities as a part of SEBS will be taking in applications, reviewing designs, and issuing permits for septic systems in the area. So this will result in an increase of responsibilities related to permit review, inspections, enforcement, records management, staff training, and will require updates to the building bylaw. So these are the main points of the report. We need to enter into agreement with public health Sudbury districts to outline the requirements of how this transfer of authority will happen. We will be asking to adjust staffing levels to accommodate the increased workload. We need to make updates to the building bylaw to accommodate septic system applications and fees. And we have included a staff report reporting on expenditures within 2026 and how things will change, and also some projections for 2027. First, the agreement with Public Health Sudbury District. We have already been in contact with the CBO at Public Health and have been working on a transition plan related to records management, the transfer of open permit fees, and the distribution of permit fees revenue that will be collected in 2026. So we will be getting some revenue for any open permits that we would be taking over, considering we'll be doing some of the work associated with those permits. The agreement so far outlines the responsibilities of both parties. And we are going to seek a legal opinion to make sure it's very clear that any decisions made before November 1st, 2026 are the responsibility of public health. Anything afterwards is now our responsibility. So we are looking for a resolution to enter into an agreement with public health to get that work moving. Staffing levels and succession planning. We have received reports from public health that they show an average of 86 new permits per year, with a majority of them being new septic permits for new installations. Based on this information, that's an approximate 35% increase in permit applications. And in anticipation of this workload that we knew was coming, at some point because we were getting communications from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing that we would eventually be getting this septic approval, we had started training internally within our existing staff. So our senior municipal law enforcement officer has taken courses and at this point has enough courses to be considered to be appointed as a building inspector. We had thought that this would be an overlap between our part-time building inspector, but Bruno Roy decided not to return back to the department this year. So he resigned in April of 2026, which just meant that instead of having some overlap in training of a current inspector and potentially a new inspector coming along the way, that overlap has been eliminated. So I do feel that the work that we've done to train the senior municipal law enforcement officer to work into building inspection has really been time well spent, because we're maintaining a continuity of service through this internal succession planning. We're retaining knowledge. There's going to be a smooth transition during this operational change, and all the training that we've invested is going to be remaining within the organization. So the timing worked out fairly well with our plan. Now, we will be going from a part-time building inspector to a full-time building inspector. Not only will the extra work of the septic approvals be a part of their job and why we need the extra help, there's additional work that really will be supported by having a full-time year-round building inspector. I'm always bringing up the fact that we need to work on closing longstanding open building permits. To have a full-time inspector will help with consistency in unsafe building investigations and enforcement matters. We'll be able to review historical permit records to help support and make sure that we have all of our taxable assessment accounted for. And the idea of taking on septic systems not only was to bring the septic system approvals in-house for efficiency, but also to potentially set up systems where, as a municipality, we could work more proactively on areas where we find that in sensitive areas, we may find that failing septic systems are contributing to things like blue-green algae or just overall poor water quality. So I don't see us moving forward on any proactive systems right away, but at least the potential will be there within the department. So because we did receive the news that our part-time building inspector wasn't coming back for 2026, this wasn't anticipated. And we are in June, so we had made budget decisions for this year that now have changed. So this will be discussed a bit later in the report. But as a staff through SEBS, we believe that our current staffing levels can be maintained to keep us within our approved budget. We're always conscious of the fact that we're dealing with 4 municipalities and 4 councils with different priorities. So we weren't looking to make any major changes in 2026 that might make us have to ask for more of any of the municipalities. It is a decision by our staff to make these changes and to take on extra work in the anticipation that we will be moving to full staffing in 2027. We do not anticipate that this staffing level could continue past 2026. We are looking to appoint the junior municipal law enforcement officer into I'm sorry, to appoint the senior municipal law enforcement officer as a building inspector. So he has received the training. If we appoint him as a building inspector, he's already been training within the department. He can start taking on inspection duties under my advisement, of course. Junior municipal law enforcement officer will assume the role of senior municipal law enforcement officer. We're happy to see that that continuity within the department as well. Our bylaw manager has agreed to take on increased field support for the enforcement officer, so spending time on investigations when needed or supporting projects where an enforcement officer needs to be in the field. He'll also be recruiting and training the new junior bylaw enforcement officer to be ready for early 2027. And we're asking him to apply for the Northern Ontario Heritage Fund Corporation grant to help fund the new junior bylaw enforcement officer position, which we have done in the past. And it's been an excellent program to help support our department. The chief building official will be taking on the roles of performing all plans examination and inspection duties, mentoring of the new building inspector, coordinating all required building code training, and will also be investigating e-permitting software options, working within our existing mapping and budget where possible. There is some money that we spend on our CGIS mapping system that works specifically for the building department. We're looking at options to be able to spend that money more efficiently on e-permitting software that'll help us keep our department running more smoothly. Similar to e-software that we purchased for the bylaw department, that has really improved our admin time in that department as well. So as I said earlier, we don't anticipate that we will be able to go past 2026 at that level of staffing. So we are looking to increase overall. And if you see table 1 on page 4, oh, that's not the permit. That's not the table I want to refer to. We'll get there. The increased staffing levels will be supporting the septic permitting that is coming. And I'm sorry, there's a typo. It was meant to be 35% on page 4 of 9. As we'll see the number of inspections increase and also in permitting coming in and an additional administrative workload. The addition of the junior bylaw officer will help to cover the increases in bylaw complaints that we've been seeing year over year. Table 1 shows that in 2021, we were at 47 complaints, and in 2025, we logged 266 complaints. So we don't see that going down anytime soon. So we'd like to maintain our enforcement levels. Table 2 shows basically the main change in the department will be moving from a part-time building inspector to a full-time building inspector. So we're adding a half of a full-time equivalent to the department. Maybe at this point, I'll see if anyone has any questions specifically about staffing. Okay.
Counselor Bob.
Thank you for all the information. I don't know if it's all sunk in.
It's a lot.
And our senior bylaw enforcer is going to building. Will he be only building, or I think you answered it and I missed it, or will he be wearing 2 hats?
Through you, Madam Chair, thank you. In 2026, he'll be supporting both departments. So working within building, really focusing on training and spending time in the field, but also supporting bylaw as it ramps up in the summer, where I'll just take over any building that needs to be dealt with then.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I missed it.
No, I
And
don't
you-
think.
You
I mentioned it.
mentioned that, if I may, you mentioned that there was 85 or 86 applications, right, at the start, septic field applications. Is that for French River only? Is that for your SEB area?
Through you, Madam Chair, that's for the entire SEBS area.
Okay,
So we took those numbers on an average from the last 3 years from Public Health. They unfortunately don't they don't file their systems in each municipality separately. So the numbers were all bulked together and we hadn't had time to really break down the numbers per municipality. So we're using 86 increase in the department overall and predicting that most likely the numbers of septic approvals will sort of follow the number of permits that we see in each municipality. It may go up and down in different years.
Okay, and one more, if I may, and maybe it's more to Kevin or just going by losing a bylaw enforcer, and there'll be more stuff going. Do you presume being okay with another junior and having Connor going to? Do you figure you'll have enough manpower
Through you, Madam Chair, are you just talking about this year, like 2026?
for the rest of this year, say?
Yeah, we're almost halfway through. We've already been sharing. Again, our MRF software that we purchased has really really helped us with admin and organization and cut down a lot of time. So that's been it's been helping us a lot for time saving. So again, I'll just have to be in the field a little more for the summer for some cleanups and stuff. It's not we've already kind of worked this out between
Okay.
myself and Andrea that we're gonna be fine this year. Yeah. But it's
Thank you,
not
Madam Chair.
sustainable, like long term. That's all. It's like
Okay, so, go ahead, Dean.
I'm kind of curious. Excuse me, table 1 talks about bylaw complaints per year. And I'm just wondering, what constitutes a bylaw complaint? How does it work? What are we actually getting?
The types of complaints?
Yeah, what kind of complaints do we get?
Through you, Madam Chair. Anything to do with animal control, noise, property standards, clean yard issues, travel trailers, short-term rentals.
Okay, so in effect,
Anything
the
that's-
complaints are coming from the general public
Thank you.
about particular instances.
Yes, anything where they suspect that a municipal bylaw is not being complied with.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
I have a question. So, you said that the existing, 86 or something like that, open permits right now, are you gonna be taking care of those during the summer or they only come November? Like, and new applications, are they starting with us or are they going to the health unit? So they'll add on to your,
Thank you, through Madam Chair. I'll clarify. So on average, Public Health has received 86 applications for all septic approvals in our 4 municipalities. So we're anticipating around that number starting in 2020, November, well, I suppose 2027. For 2026, part of that agreement is going to be how will we handle what they're handing over. So we'll have access to all of the closed files for research purposes. Anything though that is at different stages, so an application stage, we're going to propose, if it's just been reviewed, there will be a certain amount of the permit fee that would come to our municipality, a certain amount would stay with them. If they've gone for their second inspection and they're at another stage and we're only maybe going to do the final inspection, then we would be getting a portion of that, but prorated to the less work that we'd be doing. So that's part of the negotiation that you'll see in the agreement with Public Health. They have told us, though, that they're taking this opportunity to really clean up their files that are coming our way, as are all building departments across Ontario. So they're working hard to make sure that they're handing over the cleanest list of permits that have been really addressed well, that mostly will be closed or near closure. Unfortunately, this November time of year apparently is when they are the busiest at closing permits. So November should be a busy time, but they've been really excellent to work with. So we see a lot of cooperation between our 2 authorities.
okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think that was better to give everyone a little bit of chance to speak as opposed to just listening, because I do realize this is a lot of information. Speaking of a lot of information, we do have to update our building bylaw. So a copy of a 2026 draft of the building bylaw was included with your package. It was last drafted in 2018, and it was actually one of the first bylaws I helped to write. But with the 9 years of experience, or however long it's been, there were a lot of things that needed to be updated besides the updates to accommodate septic systems. So obviously, we're going to be including new language for provisions for septic systems, language referring to mandatory inspection programs, which may come into effect in environmentally protected areas. We don't have any now, but maybe in the future. And the addition of septic system application fees. The other amendments, which I could go through in the main bylaw with you, but have been highlighted in red, really have to do more with dealing with open building permits. There has been a lot of work done in Ontario and in building departments to help to work towards mitigating as much liability as possible for municipalities with open building permits. So language that has to do with defining what a dormant permit is very important. Anything that hasn't been touched by the municipality in the last 15 years, we can make a statement to say that we no longer have any legal interest in that particular permit. We consider it dormant or closed. This has been supported by a lot of legal framework. This is not just something I'm coming up with as a CBO. It's being recommended to all municipalities to include this language so that we can say a permit has been opened. The responsibility does lie with the property owner to close it. But if it still remains open for whatever reason, within the Limitations Act, we can state that 15 years has passed. If there are any issues with that particular property, please review them on your own. Be aware of what you're purchasing. We are no longer legally involved with that particular permit. Now, that being said, we are also going to make a lot of steps to make sure that building permits are getting closed as we move forward. We have to educate the public. Number one, it is your responsibility to close building permits, but we can't just hang our hats on that statement. We have to be active in making sure that permits are getting closed. Permits are being reviewed in a timely fashion. They're being reported to MPAC to add for assessment value. It's an important role for the municipality or for the chief building official. So a lot of language has been added to this building bylaw to support the closure of building permits in a timely fashion and correctly. We included detailed descriptions of how inspection information can be submitted. Especially in our municipality, we will often rely on photos, especially on properties that are difficult to get to. This has never been written directly in our building bylaw, so we wanted to make it clear that that would be something that would be accepted if the CBO accepts it. We've included some new construction types on our fees schedule because it was unclear how to charge for things like institutional permits. We've made it more clear on how to charge fees to some types of construction. And also we have included fees for septic and improvement of descriptions for required information on site plan and required plans. This bylaw, I would ask you to review, and if you have any questions, please ask me. I would love to be able to clarify, especially in this meeting or even in the next couple of weeks. But I will say that we would have to move forward on at least updating the fees to this bylaw because we're moving towards a potential situation where I won't be able to pass any bylaws before we get the approvals of septics on November 1st. So I tried to make it as clear as possible. Any questions that come up, please get in contact with me and I'll talk you through them. I'm sure that nobody had a chance to really dive into that bylaw, so I'm available to answer those questions at any time. So going into the next section of our report. Oh, one other thing I'll bring up quickly. So we are recommending that the septic system application fees be kept the same as what public health was charging in the city of Sudbury. This is fairly important. Public health had recently brought up their fees over the last few years in the attempt of becoming revenue neutral. We are a user fee. A building permit is a user fee. And we are always striving to cover the cost of our building department so that we don't have to ask the general population to fund our building department. This is something that we've done in the past where we have kept the fees at maybe an elevated level that they've been in the last few years, and then reviewed what those fees, what the implications of those fees would be within our first year of operating. So I think that keeping the fees at this level, as you'll see in our financial report, helps to fund the increases that we're going to see in 2027. Although we are looking to make one reduction, there is a minor variance review report that was costing $357. This report was being supplied to the planning board if anyone wanted to sever a property, with basically a letter stating that a property could have a septic system on that property. We think $357 is probably too high. We could do that review fairly easily within our daily tasks. So we're recommending that that fee be brought down to $120. Makes it a little bit less expensive if you're looking to sever a property. But overall, for the rest of the fees, we're recommending that those fees stay the same. If we do keep the fees the same for those 86 permits that we anticipate for the entire area, we're looking at bringing in a revenue of just over 113,000, which when we look at our overall budget for 2027 comes close to, actually over a bit, to cover the anticipated costs that we see. So we think it's a good level at this time to see through 2027. So our transitional financial impacts in 2026, because we saw the resignation of the building inspector in 2026, we will see a temporary savings of their salary. But that salary savings will at this point be allocated to increased wages associated with transitioning our inspector in our senior bylaw enforcement officer into a building inspector. We've also set aside some money for overtime costs that may be associated with the extra work that we're asking our current staff to cover, and also to cover additional training. The current SEBS budget was approved for 2026 for just over $633,000. With the changes we're anticipating, we anticipate a $30,000 savings in 2026 from the staffing vacancy and timing in hiring new staff. Table 3 breaks down where we're going to see these savings. The savings are not anticipated to continue into the future once the department reaches full operational staffing levels. Now I did want to discuss reserves. Every year, there's always a potential for extra money to be left in the SEBS budget. And typically this is discussed with the CAOs at budget time to decide what to do with any surplus, either to make sure that everyone's final payment of that year is somewhat reduced, or what we've done in most years is to put away some money for the reserve to pay vehicles. We're going to be recommending at the end of this year, with whatever extra money is left over, that we do put aside a reserve that will help to cover the cost of any new bylaw or building inspectors. When we work out the costs for what a new bylaw officer costs or what a new building inspector costs, we're looking at approximately $11,500 for a new bylaw officer and just $5,500 for a new building inspector. The main difference being in equipment, and that training for bylaw officers, you typically have to go away to take those courses. For building courses, everything has a virtual component for the most part, so we don't have to pay for hotels. That being said, if we do lose an inspector halfway through a year, it is difficult when working with 4 different municipalities to come forward and ask for more money halfway through a year. If we had a reserve with a cap on it to allow us to have money put aside for any changes in staffing, we feel like this would protect budgets across all 4 municipalities. There's no decision required at this time. It'll be brought forward again at the end of this year. I just wanted to put that idea in everyone's mind. So the anticipated budget implications for 2027 are that because we're increasing staffing and equipment that goes along with that staff, we will see an increase in operational costs. But we are also going to see the new septic permit revenues, and we're expecting to see that offset be enough to potentially show a potential net savings on the 2027 budget. Again, this will be reviewed, and then we can discuss any changes to application fees for septic systems at the end of 2027. So this does mean a big change in our department, but in a way, it's a change we anticipated. We've put training in place for the change. We always knew that revenues would be attached to taking on septic approval along with the additional work. It would have been an interesting question to figure out how to go from a part-time inspector to a full-time inspector at that time, but that decision was made for us. So we feel like this is the next natural step for the shared service. And I've included table 5 just to remind people that, you know, as we do have our overall budget for SEBS, but it is based on a percentage between 4 municipalities. So just to remind everyone where each municipality stands in paying for the department. So our recommendations are that council direct staff to enter into agreement with public health and Sudbury districts outlining the divestment of septic authority to the municipality, that Riley Shouse Merrifield be appointed as a building inspector for the municipality effective July 1st, and that Connor West be promoted to senior bylaw enforcement officer effective July 1st, that council review and comment on the proposed draft building bylaw, anticipating that I would like to report back to council in July of 2026. That council review the 2026 budget forecast and 2027 proposed budget, and of course, submit any questions or discuss at this time. And that council direct staff to apply to the Northern Ontario Heritage Fund Corporation Workforce Development Program for funding to support an internship for the position of junior bylaw officer beginning January 1st, 2027. So I'll open it up to any other questions that may have come up in this next half of the report.
Mayor Pejot.
Andrea, I just want to say that's an amazing report. Can't even begin to imagine how much time you spent on this. It's well done. I read it all, certain parts twice because I didn't understand, but I understand. I just have a comment with regards to the reserve. I totally support the idea of having a reserve for your department. Each municipality, when we set the budget, we already set it, so we know how much we have to spend in that year. And if we don't spend it all, then you put it in a reserve. It's easier to go into the reserve than to go back to 4 municipality and ask for more money. So I would certainly push that, and I would support it wholeheartedly. If you have any money left over, put it in a reserve. Don't give it back to us to save a penny here, pound there. So I hope the other municipalities would feel the same way. But great work. Congratulations.
Councillor Bob and then Councillor Dave.
What do you do in your spare time?
Through your, sorry, Madam Chair, I just have to say I did have a lot of help. There was a lot of staff input, but yes.
I'm sure there is very well that and it answers a lot of questions. One quick question, then a comment also. With your open permits, those that you're going to declare dormant, and you say 15 years, just to protect our future buyers of such a property, I know when there's an open permit, the seller has to come forward and close it. What, with a dormant, how will that work?
To you, Madam Chair. So yes, ideally, before someone sells, they will contact us and ask if there are any open permits on a property, but it often comes up at the point where a building search is being requested. So then we'll find out if there are open permits on a property. If it has not been touched within 15 years, we are going to state that we are declaring it dormant, and this will be an activity that the department will take on. So there'll be an overall review of permits entered into our system, studied to make sure that nothing has been touched, no inspections have been made, no phone calls have been made, no visits to the property have been made. It has to be truly untouched for 15 years. That will be entered into our system, and those dormant permits will be a statement that has been legally vetted will be attached to that, stating that we no longer have any legal obligation to closing this permit. It is literally considered not open, not closed, dormant.
Okay.
And that's communicated then to the property owner, which they can discuss with their lawyer. But we've actually already started making that statement based on the fact that the Limitation Act exists. But to the next part of your question, if it has been touched within that 15 years, if it's maybe only a few years old and it just it got missed, then yes, we would usually advise the lawyer or the property owner to contact the building department. We'll make an overall review of the permits, see at what spot the inspections were done, and then take action. Either if it was just a final inspection, perform the final inspection, but if it was more in depth and there were things that were covered and not inspected, we may have to ask for items to be uncovered, engineering reports to make sure things were done correctly. I think that answers your question on how we would handle open permits. It really depends on at what point they've been last touched by the municipality.
Okay, thank you. So just to protect like our future buyers.
Yes,
And one comment, and I agree with Mayor Giselle. I mean, reserves are the strength of our council, other boards, and I'm really happy to hear you go in this direction because you're dealing with 4 municipalities. You never know. So just my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a quick question before Dave goes. So when you get a building permit, is it not for an extended period of time? Like, should people not like, you're gonna build a house, don't you give them like 2 years and then there's no time frame? Like, I'm just thinking there should be time frames put on building permits, should there not?
thank you, through you. So we have in the past had that sort of language giving certain time limits for an accessory structure 1 year, a house 2 years. But it's been something that it's been difficult to enforce because we have not been able to keep up with older closed permits to make sure that things are being looked at every 6 months. We've started going back into historical permits, and we've sent letters to try to start closing these permits. But ideally, what will happen is once we start being able to dive deeper into these historical permits, if there hasn't been any work done on them and we can declare them dormant, that's what they will become. If there hasn't been work on it and they're within a time frame that states that we should be following up, then letters will be sent to try to activate that process. But going forward, our thought is we will educate the applicants to say, this is your responsibility. Please make sure you contact us. And then use tools like revoking permits if there's been no action on them within 6 months, which is already in the Ontario Building Code. It's just a tool we haven't really used as a department. Proper transfer of permits. If it's going from one owner to another, then those permits should be revoked and the new owner should be told that they need to apply for a new permit. So I feel like the tools in the Ontario Building Code are better to use than what we had in our bylaw at the time. In some cases in our area, a garage could take 3 summers to build if it's on a seasonal property and someone's slowly working on it. But as long as they're communicating with us and contacting us for permits when they need it. And if we take this movement to be a bit more proactive on contacting people, I think that's going to be much better than trying to follow timelines on each property and forcing people to maybe work at a pace that they can't quite meet. But as long as they're continuing to work towards having a building in place, I think that's a better attitude to take as a department for the residents.
Okay, thank you. I was just worried that somebody would get a building permit and then just wait 15 years, don't shut it. That is the concern I have, because I could see people having that mentality, right?
With the policies and procedures that we'll have in place, that won't happen. Yeah.
Sir Dave, now that I cut in.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, again, about the 15 years. I'm just curious on, it's kind of a two-part question. What kind of legal implications or liabilities do we have while the permit is open during that 15 years?
Thank you through you, Madam Chair. Well, there's nothing to say that even if it's closed, that there aren't legal implications. There's always a potential for a legal implication in any building permit that we issue. So I think that having proper policies in place to state that any permit that hasn't been touched in this time shall be declared dormant, that will put us in a position to state that at least we've done an overall review of our permits. The policies that we're going to use going forward that we'll bring to council about reviewing open permits will help to eliminate liability, because we'll be following policies that state, within this time, if we haven't been contacted, we will reach out. It's more, I've in my experience, there's always the potential for liability. It's more just cleaning up and following our best policies and procedures to make sure that any decision we make, at least we can explain why we did it.
And thank you. And through you, Madam Chair, part two. 15 years sounds like a long time to me for somebody to not do something before it goes dormant. Is that, I don't know, is that a standard or?
Through you, Madam Chair. So 15 years is through the Limitations Act. So 15 years is when we can actually claim it to be something that we no longer have to be involved in based on that act. We have many open permits, and Ontario has many open building permits. This has been the attitude of most building permits has been, it is not our responsibility as a department to close these permits. It is the owner's responsibility. There's been recent litigation and case law where it has been found that yes, it is the owner's responsibility, but municipalities need to start taking a more active role in closing these building permits, and here are the steps to take. So this is just the information that we've been receiving, and we want to follow suit with that research.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, any other questions? No, seeing none, I believe we have 3 resolutions. So
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. So we have 3 resolutions. So I realize there are several recommendations in the report. But the 3 motions that we would ask council to make this evening is to direct staff to enter into an agreement with public health, the appointment of the building inspector, and a funding authorizing staff to apply for a funding agreement to fund part of the junior bylaw officer position.
do you need a mover and seconder for each one, or just one for all 3?
For each one.
For each one. So we'll start with the first one.
Public health.
So Bob and Roger for the public health.
It is moved and seconded. Be resolved that council directs staff to enter into an agreement with Public Health Sudbury District outlining the divestment of septic authority to the municipality.
All those in favor? Good. The second one
So this one
is a promotion.
Yes.
So I need a mover and a seconder for this one. Dave and Willie.
It is moved and seconded. Be it resolved that bylaw 2026-33, being a bylaw to appoint a building inspector, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
All those in favor? And the third resolution is for application of the grant. So Counselor Bob and Counselor Dave.
It is duly moved and seconded. Be it resolved that council directs staff to apply to the Northern Ontario Heritage Fund Corporation Workforce Development Program for funding to support an internship for the position of junior bylaw officer beginning January 1st, 2027.
All those in favor? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Andrea, for your report. So now we will continue on to correspondence. 7.1, we have a resolution to approve the Sudbury East Planning Board 2026 municipal apportionment. So I believe Councillor Bob wants to speak to this.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, it's for information only. There's a copy of our audited financials enclosed. We are at the planning board, just to enforce Andrea's statement, we are working with about 1.5 years of reserves for our board compared to our expenses. We also have our approved budget. It's included in your packages. At any time that you want to question any of these reports or the planning board, we have 2 members of this council on the planning board, Councillor Dave and myself. You can direct questions to us at any time. That's it. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Bob? So we have a resolution. I need a mover and seconder. Councillor Dave and Councillor D.
It is moved and seconded. Be it resolved that council approves the 2026 Sudbury East Planning Board municipal apportionment in the amount of $67,125.
All those in favor? 7.2, the Good Food Market. We have a request for donation and Mayor Pajot will speak to this.
Right. As most of you know, in the last few years, the Good Food Market has been coming to our municipality, offering once a week fresh fruits and vegetables at a much lower price and certainly much fresher than what we're getting in the stores. They're running a deficit again this year. A group of us are trying to work with public health because I think public health should be funding this at 100%. But in the meantime, we need to keep it going. There will be, Albin will be receiving, I forget the day, I think Tuesday or Wednesday of each week. And then on Thursday, we'll be in Noelville at the arena. And it works out really well because on the third Thursday of the month, it's Food Bank Day. And we plan to get gift certificates from the Good Food Truck so that our clients can purchase better food with less money. So I'm proposing a $500 donation to go towards the Good Food Market.
Okay, any questions? And mover or Dave, you have a question? Go ahead.
Through you, Madam Chair. How far is there, like, how deep is their deficit for this year, or do you?
I'm not sure because right now the Lions have now donated $1,000.
Okay.
The Horticultural Society have donated $500. And we're just waiting from Killarney and St. Charles. So right now the deficit is in the thousands.
But is like between all of that, is that? gonna
Between the
cover
three
it?
municipalities and the service organization, I think that we can
Should
come up.
cover it.
What needs to be done is the group of us is really to push public health to
Mhm.
fund it at 100%, because that's where I believe it belongs.
Yeah.
And because public health, we can't access a lot of their services. This is one service that that will help
Mhm.
all the residents of our municipality. So
Exactly.
for this year, we'll do this and then we'll see what comes up after we meet with I forget his name there, but at Public Health, and we'll see if we can get some money there.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What happens if their deficit
deficit is not wiped out, will it still go on or can it go on?
No, it won't go on. What will happen is it will stop, which would be a great, great disservice to the three municipalities. And so that's why we're trying to, for this year, to try, just break even and then again, continue our efforts with public health to make them the sole responsibility. I believe to run it per year is about 25,000 or something like that, because you have to, of course, purchase the fruits and the vegetables, and then you have to pay somebody to pick them up and then bring them to each of the municipalities. There's wear and tear on the truck. Gas. We all know how gas is expensive now, so it's quite. It can get quite expensive.
If, shouldn't we find out what the number is?
Yeah, I had
It-
it somewhere in my books. I just. It would
Yeah.
They
take
had
me
made a
about 20 minutes to
presentation,
find
eh?
it. Eh?
They had made a presentation
Yeah,
to us last year, I believe,
Yes.
where we did have numbers.
Yeah. Yeah.
We could go back
It
and
would
try
be
to
about
find
this,
it.
it would be, the numbers would be higher. So if you go back, it would be around the same time as this year when they made a presentation to council and they talked about the numbers. So whatever those numbers are, I would add about 10% more.
If, the donations that are being made right now, and if they don't meet their deficit, in a sense, these donations are gonna go for naught because they'll still close. So shouldn't we get a little bit more involved with that and find out and maybe get other municipalities involved?
Yeah, that's, there are representative from each of the three municipalities. They only serve the three. And let the St. Charles people work with St. Charles people and their service organization, and the same with Killarney. So I just haven't heard anything from those two municipalities yet. So I have a feeling most of the money will come. If it doesn't, what it means is that it'll shut down just a little bit sooner. So instead of shutting down at the end of September, it will shut down beginning of September, depending when the money runs out. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, so we need a mover and a seconder. Counselor Dave and Counselor Bob.
It is moved and seconded, be it resolved that council agrees to a donation of $500 towards the Good Food Market.
All those in favor? So we'll continue on to 7.3 from the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities. We have a request for support for strengthening mental health and addictions crisis response to reduce pressure on police and emergency departments. It's a lengthy resolution. FNUM has reached out to municipalities across Ontario to get support. They did make a presentation on Monday to the Minister of something. I can't remember, but I know this is kind of coincides with their they've been putting pressure on how a lot of our policing and ambulances are being utilized by recurring mental health patients and drug addictions and all that, and that there should be programs out there or more help towards for municipalities, and that it shouldn't all come out of taxpayers' dollars. So they're asking, it's a lengthy resolution, but they're asking all municipalities to support it and just to send it back into FNUM so that they have the resolutions in hand when they do meet with the ministers. So if do you have any questions? Seeing none, I need a mover and a seconder. Counselor Dave and Counselor Roger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did shorten it a little bit.
Okay.
So it is moved and seconded, be resolved that council supports the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities Resolution number 2026-04, calling upon the government of Ontario to establish stable and equitable funding and expanded 24/7 crisis response. stabilization and treatment for mental health and addiction services in Northern Ontario, while publicly reporting regional outcomes to ensure accountability and evidence-based planning. And that a copy of the resolution be forwarded to FNUM, the Premier of Ontario, the Minister of Health, the Minister responsible for mental health and addiction, the Solicitor General, MPP John Vantoff and MPP Frangelina, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and relevant provincial partners supporting crisis response coordination.
All those in favor? Thank you. We'll continue on to 7.4, Frangelina and Jamie West, members of Provincial Parliament. A request for support for the completion of the 4-laning of Highway 69. We need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Dave and Councillor Dean.
It is duly moved and seconded. We resolve that council supports the attached open letter dated May 21st, 2026 from Frangelina and Jamie West, members of the Provincial Parliament, to complete the 4-laning of highway in Northern Ontario.
All those in favor? Approved. There is a meeting tomorrow night in Henby Inlet about the 4-lane, 21 kilometers of the 4-laning part. For those that are interested in attending, it's from 4 to 7 o'clock, and they're looking for public input, I believe, and they're going to talk about that stretch there. So that is happening tomorrow in Henby. If you want I'll get back to you. I will send you the information. I think there are members of parliament that are going to be there to discuss it. I'll get back to you, Dean. But there is a meeting tomorrow night. 7.5, the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities. In there's a report, the 2026 spring highlights of what we've been working on. So that was just for information only. So that was included in your packages. I thought it'd be good to share. FNUM, members of FNUM were in Toronto on Monday and met with several ministers. From what Mac has shared, the meetings went very well. So hopefully we'll get some good feedback from that. And they've been working a lot. FNUM has been working with the Ontario Northern municipalities on a lot of the similar issues. So it's been really good partnerships. We'll continue on to number 8, the consent agenda. We need a mover and a seconder for this. Councillor Willie. And a seconder, Councillor Dean.
It is moved and seconded. Be it resolved that council approves the items of the consent agenda under section 8.1 and receives the items under section 8.2.
All those in favor? Okay, we have no items separated from the consent agenda. We have no notices of motion. Announcements and inquiries before we go into our closed session. So we'll start with Roger, Councillor Roger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have 2 questions. The first one will go to Julie. Tax arrears. What is the role now of the tax roll, let's say of 6 months or later? I think it's very important to know in order for us to move on, especially if it's high. Made aware of it? Okay. Thank you. And the second question goes to Kevin.
Mark, did you want to comment to that?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you know, in all due respect for staff to be put on the spot like that in an open meeting, I'm not very fond of. Those questions can be easily asked ahead of time or asked to be put on the agenda, and we can be better prepared to answer those informations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, the second question is to Kevin. And I think it's daily news pretty well, so the moose hasn't been looked after, the dead moose.
Through you, Madam Chair. This is an open bylaw file, so speaking about it in open session, we can't really do right now, so. Yeah, that's all I can really say about it
Yeah.
at the moment.
Because I've been told that it was in a sense, if you went on the property, it was trespassing. Wouldn't the health side of it change that? I mean, for somebody, a neighbor to put up with that stench for weeks as far now. And I understand it's a privately owned lot, but there's a lot of diseases and different problems that can come out of that. And I think health should, go over anything and get on the property and clear it.
Through you, Madam Chair. Specifically for what you're referring to, I'm just not gonna open up that discussion, but I can walk through the process that bylaw has to go through when this situation arises. We're not responsible for wildlife in any shape, way, or form. MNR is. This is, let's just say, a deer died on someone's property. Let's go with that. And the only action we have is under property standards. It has to be affecting the neighborhood. We then reach out to the property owner and give them notice to remove the deer in question. If they wouldn't, then we would proceed to going through a municipal order, which they then have 14 days to comply with. So by the time we send an order, if they don't respond, like if it's 7 days in the mail and then 14 days for them to actually do the work and then a reinspection on the property, and then we would have to go and get quotes from contractors because this is the municipality. So then we go from there. So you're looking at quite a time, like a lengthy time frame before anything happens legally on our part. I understand what you're saying about health and stuff, but MNR was notified, like if like situations like this, MNR is called out. The health, there's another organization to do with disease. They're called out, and if none of them act, it's just kind of a stench issue at that point with property standards. So.
We are responsible for the well-being of the neighbor. And I mean, for them to wait another 3 weeks to a month where they can't enjoy their property, I think it's pushing it. Something has to be done a lot sooner. And where are we now as far as that, the action to be taken?
Okay, Councillor Roger, this is an open file, which is under investigation. So I would add, it can't be discussed because it's in an open forum, because it's under investigation. It's just like police when they're investigating an accident or whatever. Until the investigation is over, it cannot be discussed in this public forum.
All right, I've made my point and I'll leave it, but I don't agree with it.
Okay, thank you, Roger. Bob?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just thinking, I just hope this fall that moose run after me like this one that has come into our municipality. A few comments, a few announcements. In the last couple of weeks, I have been traveling Montéguérin, Hull Road, and I'd like Kevin to pass along thank yous and job well done to the roads department, to Martin. Those two roads are in excellent shape. And those two roads lead to our dump site, and they can't be any better. So thank you, and if you would pass that along. I had family come in recently, and we visited the cemetery, and the comments I got from them was, wow. Almost looking forward to moving here. That cemetery it just looked great. Again, thank you to Kevin, to Parks and Rec, and great job. We mentioned Wally Lamondin Park earlier, and I would just like to say thank you to that family, the foundation. We don't say thank you enough to them for the support they're giving towards that park that is being enjoyed by many, many of our residents. So just a shout out to that family, a big thank you. Now, you all knew I was going to talk about the seniors complex. We had our grand opening. It was well attended. Everybody was amazed. Just think about it. 2 years ago this week, we walked over from here and we had the groundbreaking ceremony. 2 years. We built that place. Today, Holly had advised me that she accepted 2 new residents, their applications with deposit, which puts us at 29. Before the meeting, I showed our last apartment. The lady was filling out her application. She has a 10 o'clock appointment tomorrow morning with Holly. She wants it. That puts us at capacity. 2 years. Turn soil and fill that place. That is amazing. And yes, this council should tap itself on its shoulders for a great decision we made back then. And we should all be very proud. That is 30 new families we brought into the municipality. Be it local people move in there, they sell their houses to new families. So I think it's a tremendous, tremendous accomplishment. I could talk all night about it. Yes.
Talk about expanding eventually, down the road.
There's one group I forgot to thank that day. And it's to the resident group ladies that decorated the common room. They dressed it up. They used their bingo money to get somebody in there to clean. The room looked good, and I could start naming them all, but they very appreciated for Descon for sponsoring the luncheon. And a big thank you to the seniors board. And again, a big thank you, and we should tap ourselves on the back to this council. And I'll use the words of a famous man. I think I've talked enough now. I think I'll let somebody else talk.
Willie?
It's going to be anticlimactic. I have nothing to say. Thank you.
Mayor Pajot?
First of all, with regards to the housing, I know Bob, he has not given himself any credit or enough credit. As chair of the non-for-profit housing board, Bob has been instrumental in getting those places filled, answering to complaints or concerns, making sure everything is done. And I know it's been countless hours that you've put in. Not sure you enjoyed every moment, but you made it happen. And for that, as I told you last week, I'm eternally grateful to you. And thank you. The other just announcement that I have is, remember everybody, Friday is Seniors Appreciation Day at the Alban Community Center, where we serve lunch to our seniors. And we'll have some of our firefighters there. Hopefully our police will be there, and our ambulance. We also have the staff over at Edo Senyal that will be assisting us. There's tons and tons of prizes to be given out to our seniors. We'll be honoring 3 members of our municipalities, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So after the meeting, let me know if you can attend, because I just want to make sure I have enough people to serve the meal. We're anticipating about 160 to 170 people on Friday.
It's lunch. right?
Luncheon, yeah. So if you can be there, yeah, 11:30, that's plenty of time. Okay. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mayor Pejo. Counselor Dean?
I don't really have any comments to say other than the water's gone down about 30 inches. And everybody's heaving a sigh of relief to see it gone and, or going anyway. It's still got a long way to go to normal levels, but it's on the way down. And the issue is done for another year, but it's just a last reminder from experience. It's only another 6, 7 years and it'll happen again, so. Nothing can be done about that.
Thank you, Dean. Dave,
Yes,
do you have anything to comment?
No.
No.
thank you.
So it's the meeting for Highway 69 is the Ministry of Transportation that's hosting an in-person public information about the 4-laning of Highway 69. And it is Thursday, June 4th from 4 to 7 at the Royal Legion in Britt. Yeah. And you can also comment if you want. You have till June 18th to send your comments about the 4-laning project. And so that is for that. Also, tomorrow night is the first movie night at the Minettville Public School. They are starting to do movie nights there to help fundraise for their school trips. So they have many nice prizes, and I guess there'll be popcorn and all sorts of stuff. So that is coming. The farmers market is starting this Saturday. So glad to see them opening up. That'll be nice. I have been advised that the flowers should be up next week. So thank you to French River Gardens for working on those. And that's about it. For me, I think I've said everything. Now we will continue on. We need a mover and a seconder for us to go into closed session. So Counselor Dave and Counselor Dean.
It is moved and seconded, be resolved that the meeting be closed as authorized in the Municipal Act pursuant to section 239(2)D, labor relations or employee negotiations, to present an update and final processes of the organizational structure, succession planning of employees.
All those in favor? So we're going to go into closed session. So if you're not on when we get back, have a good evening. mover and a seconder to reconvene into open session? Dave and Willie? And I need a mover and a seconder for a resolution to adopt the confirmation bylaw. Willie and Roger. And I need a resolution to adjourn. Bob and Roger. Have a good evening.